Thanks, guys. We kick it off with the Fox News alert because determined critics of the Iran nuke deal raising their voices on the steps of the Capitol just moments ago. Hi, everyone. I'm Gretchen Carlson. This is The Real Story. They hold a huge rally. They held it as Congress debates at the same time a resolution of disapproval rejecting the president's deal. Controversial agreement, a hot-button topic on the presidential campaign trail as well, drawing some big names to the rally.
We can't beat anybody. Our vets are being treated horribly. It will change. We will have so much winning if I get elected that you may get bored with winning. Believe me, I agree. You'll never get bored with winning. We never get bored.
If it goes through, there will be three consequences. Number one, the Obama administration will become, quite literally, the world's leading financier of radical Islamic terrorism. The second consequence of this catastrophic deal is that it abandons 4 American hostages in an Iranian hellhole. But the third consequence of this deal going through, if it does, is that it will facilitate and accelerate the nation of Iran acquiring nuclear weapons.
Joining me now, Chris Plant, syndicated radio talk show host, Leslie Marshall, Fox News contributor, also syndicated radio talk show host. All right, so those were the two headliners, Chris. We had Cruz and Trump. They actually stuck to kind of a time limit and didn't speak that long. But what do you make of it? Because does it make any difference?
Well, that's a good question. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. It looks to me like this thing has, effectively been given the bum's rush, as we used to say, and it's going to go through. It's bad for everyone except for Iran. Those are only a couple of the highlights there. The Ayatollah Khamenei this morning came out and said that Israel, the state of Israel, will not exist in 25 years, which is the theoretical end of the rainbow on this deal and the timeline.
Right.
And he's making it quite clear that he plans on proceeding, and before the time is up, that Israel will cease to exist. He's promising attacks, and he's promising, presumably nuclear attacks as well. That's kind of a big deal.
All right. So Leslie, it looks like it's going to pass, in the Senate for sure. There is a bit of a hang-up going on in the House this afternoon. But 41 senators have said that they are going to agree to this. So is this all about President Obama's legacy?
I hope it's not about President Obama's legacy. I think something that we Americans forget is that this is not an American deal. This is the United States being part of an international community deal, and those international partners are our key allies throughout the world. And Israel is one of our key allies. I said it before, I'll say it again. It's very simple. Do we want the threats, if in fact they're not just threats, to be carried out within 90 days or to delay those perhaps for a year? And by the way, that leader in Iran won't be alive in 25 years, and Israel will be standing strong. I am certain of that.
Well, I'm not so sure that whoever succeeds him wouldn't have the same kind of feelings they tend to. In the meantime, I want you to listen to what else Ted Cruz had to say, because he had a very interesting analysis of these so-called side deals that Congress didn't know anything about, and it has to do with when the clock actually starts to tick on those 60 days for them to vote on it. Listen to this.
To Republican leadership. Their names are Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Speaker John Boehner. Under the terms of the Corker-Cardin review legislation, the clock does not begin ticking until the president hands over the entire deal, and he has not handed over the side agreements. What that means is that all that has to happen is for Mitch McConnell and John Boehner to say the congressional review period has not started. Under federal law, it is illegal for Obama to lift sanctions.
Chances of that happening, Chris?
Probably slim. I think that Senator Cruz is correct. I think that he's right. But we live in kind of a lawless, reckless time. The president is pushing through a treaty by calling it something other than a treaty. This congressional process is largely ceremonial and window dressing. The president is doing this by fiat, as he does so many other things. And the entanglements in the House that you mentioned, I don't think are going to slow things up much. And the president and the Democrats, quite honestly, don't care. They don't care about branches of government. They don't care about approval. It is, what you asked, Leslie, largely about the president's legacy and not about Middle Eastern safety, security,
but it's also
and
about
peace.
members of Congress. It is, and I'm going to talk a little bit later on about what the American people actually think about this deal, but it is actually about members of Congress because, Leslie, they're going to vote it. They're going to vote it in. Before I get you to comment on that, I want to listen to another comment from Donald Trump, what he thinks about the people behind this deal.
We are led by very, very stupid people. Very, very stupid people. We cannot let it continue.
So he says that he would arrange to negotiate a totally different kind of a deal with Iran, not necessarily scrap it, but that he's a negotiator and he would know how to do that. But back to his attacks about the stupid people. Is he right or wrong, Leslie?
That's a very subjective question, right? Here's my problem. Here's my problem with almost everything Donald Trump says. Okay, one, this is a guy who, he feels like he was in the military because he went to a military school. So I guess he feels like he has brokered and negotiated deals with other nations like Iran over nuclear enrichment of uranium and nuclear weapons because he's cut some real estate deals. I think that's stupid. Quite frankly, Donald Trump is making stupid remarks because if he's elected president, he's going to have to work with some of those, quote, stupid people, and he's making a lot of promises, and he's actually insulting many of our allies with what he's saying. What does he know about Iran? What does he know about foreign policy? And what does he know about nuclear weapons and such deals? This guy was there for himself today.
Before President Obama was President Obama, some people asked those very same questions of him, right, Chris?
Well, yeah, and well, let me start by saying, yes, we are led by stupid people. Led by dishonest people, narcissistic people. We're led by people who are not quality people. We're in trouble. Donald Trump has negotiated plenty of arrangements with foreign governments and properties and having to do with lots of things. Now, it's not the same as foreign policy, I will grant you. Whether he's going to come in and renegotiate this deal, there are lots of hurdles before we get there. But this is look, back to the deal. This is a very, very bad deal. Donald Trump is right about that. Ted Cruz is right about that. The American people, I think you're going to talk about it. The polls are very much against this deal because, even through the filter of the pro-Obama media, the American people recognize this as a terrible deal. And as for working with people on Capitol Hill, Leslie, Barack Obama hasn't worked with anybody on Capitol Hill for 6.5 years. I don't know why Donald Trump would have to start working with people on Capitol Hill.
Okay. Got to wrap it there, but thank you so much for that in-depth analysis. Chris and Leslie, thanks much.